Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Business Roundtable Podcast. I am your host, David Carr of Steward Your Business, where I help bring teams together to accomplish great things. And as we do almost every week, I have a new guest or returning guest. And this week we've got a brand new guest, Kenneth Lord, who is one that I've been working with this year. And I thought Kenneth has just got a wealth of knowledge and background working across multiple companies and had a lot of different success. And so I thought, let's dive into some of the things about what makes Kenneth unique. Because when I met Kenneth, um, he was really building relationship and had some really emotional intelligence and understanding that I don't always see in a lot of people nowadays, candidly. And I thought, Kenneth, you've been helping working with me and my company, Steward Your Business, among others, and helping us as business leaders uh, be more effective in our leading ourselves, leading our teams, and we've been working together on the LinkedIn platform, and so I just thought it would be fun. It would be great to have you here and to go through and dig a little bit into how do we navigate growing businesses by having really emotional intelligence. So that's kind of my opening. Kenneth, I would love you feel free because you're new to the audience, share a little bit about your background and kind of what got you here, and we'll dive in and enjoy the conversation today.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate it, David. It's been great to work with you, and just been an amazing experience up until now so far. And I'm here to just really be present with all of you, so that maybe there's some idea or maybe suggestion or way in which we're conveying things that's going to resonate with you, right?
Mhm.
Part of the conversation today, majority, I guess, is about LinkedIn and getting a really clear perspective about what's your angle, what's your intentions, where are you coming from, what's your objectives, and how to convert these individuals that you're building relationships with
Mhm.
into either friends or colleagues or clients.
Mhm.
And so I'm happy to share some of that wisdom with each of you, and I hope that you get a lot out of our conversation today. So,
Yeah, I think it's great to use the LinkedIn platform because it's the go-to professional platform. But that being said, there's a lot of different ways, as you and I were talking before we jumped on recording today, Kenneth. There's a lot of different ways you can present yourself on there and be relevant or not relevant, depending on who you're trying to reach. And so, um, before we dive too far into that, I want to go back because one of the things you were helping me with, and why I wanted to have you come on here. One of the things, Kenneth, is like being very conscientious of the words that I'm using, and not just kind of there's AI, there's lots of technology out there, and it's very helpful, it's very useful, but just in and of itself isn't that great. So could you talk a little bit about, infusing technology, and I know that you do this, Kenneth, with this role of emotional intelligence and like how you were able to come to this. And I know you've been successful with many clients and companies to infuse this understanding, because I feel like it's really lost today in today's age where people just like kind of slap something together and give me the recipe and I just kind of do it there. But it doesn't match up with the person quite right. And people can sense that and they're like, this isn't quite right. Where you've been very intentional in the way that you've um, I can tell in your lead yourself, but then how you've helped, for example, guide me. And so just could you share a little bit about your journey and how important that is? And not just pulling something out of the box and just saying, "Oh, I just copy somebody else," you know?
sure. Yeah, so each of us has their own journey and their own story. And for the last 4 decades, I've helped entrepreneurs grow and scale their vision. And oftentimes, what I've come to is that your intention is the single most significant thing that you can be cognizant of and conscious of. And through that intention leads you down the path of the next step, right? And then every decision is going to set up your next decisions, which lead to whatever calling that is, or momentum that is, or challenge that may be, for instance. And when you're present with who you are and you understand and you're really diving deep into who you are in the world for the betterment of humanity, your true purpose in life,
Mm-hmm.
you come to that point of just being present and pausing for a moment
Yep.
and really going, in regards to LinkedIn, for instance, really understanding where that other person is coming from. And when you really pay attention to that and take those few minutes that it takes to dive deep into their bio, or just kind of listen and read, actively listen to the words that they're saying to you, or that's in their bio or on their website, for instance, you really get a lot out of how to communicate with these individuals.
Mm.
And the more that you can do that, and these are specifically your ideal clients, right? Not just anyone. So for example, if your
Yep.
target audience is, say, small businesses or entrepreneurs, and you're a business coach, for instance, you may not be focusing on the HR department, right? And so you
Mm-hmm.
have to really be cognizant of, are these individuals your potential clients, as an example? And then because otherwise you may be wasting your time on those individuals when it could be spent in other places. We have a system that sends out 80 personalized invitations a day and multiple messages after that, and you don't have to do anything until somebody actually replies. and
Mm-hmm.
and so once they do reply, that gives you the opportunity to message them. Now, the reason why I pointed that out is because where I'm coming from is based upon having multiple people, as to consider in your conversations. If you were just have one or two people and you're talking to them and so forth, that's you know the time that you're spending with them may be viable. But when you have multiple people that are available in your conversations, then you really are you're narrowing your conscious focus on who these individuals are. Because I believe that every person, if you put a dollar amount, the customer, the acquisition costs, the lifetime of a customer, for
Yep.
instance, what you're going to look at is, what is that number, that dollar amount that you're putting on those individuals? And so let's just say it's 10,000 or 20,000, whatever that number is, that one individual, if you're communicating with them and they instantly opt out, which is really easy to do on any sort of
Yep.
platform, then that dollar amount could have either been made or is no longer available to you, right? And so when you're really going deep into who this individual is, and you're cognizant of how to communicate with them, and then you're having this dialogue with them to build a relationship, then you move them to an actual call. That's when the magic happens, is when you're really having the deeper conversations with them. You get a chance to understand them. You get a chance
Mm-hmm.
to really understand who they are, where they're at, where they're coming from. And this is what I would say as it relates to the question that you're actually asking me,
Yep.
because it really comes to that point of knowing and understanding yourself in order to relate and be able to convey who you are as that example setter, as the entrepreneur, as the leader, as the product or service that you're offering, in order to have that multiplicity conversation that you're about to have with these other leaders, and with what they're about. And I've had multiple conversations where the outcome of it was simply that we're friends. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't actually have to come to be where you're doing business together. It could be later down the road that they are individuals that you partner with, or maybe they're a resource for you, or vice versa. They may come to an event that you're sponsoring or hosting. It could be a lot of different things. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's really about building relationships. And LinkedIn has established itself as the premier B2B platform. It's almost as though people have been vetted already, and
Right.
they don't. It's almost though that they're not really ghosting you per se, as much as, say, other platforms. And so you can reach out to them anytime. I've had many clients where they have responded to me a year, 2 years out, from the time that I first messaged them, and they become clients of mine. it's really common for those kinds of things to happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that I love the this perspective of it's a longer game here, a longer play, if you will, Kenneth. And I think in today's age, I just see a lot of people pursuing the one-off opportunity. I get a lot of that, and you and I've talked about this. Where again, I think the lack of uh, the awareness, even of themselves or others, and so they're not asking questions, and maybe this would be a good place to go because you when we first met and on LinkedIn and other things, you asked me some questions. You asked me like, "Hey, would you consider this? Would it be okay to connect? Would you be open to me sharing something?" So, to me, you shifted the focus from yourself to more about me, and talk a little bit about like how we get stuck up on ourselves about, oh, I need to get the sale, I need to make this thing happen. I'm trying and I'm pushing really hard, but to me, that's lacking emotional awareness and understanding of the other person. It's all about you. It's not about the other person.
Yeah. And well, here's the thing is that if your focus is on the sale, for instance, right, and this is the objective, this is the intention, then actually you can have sales that happen pretty quickly on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. When you have established clearly, when you have established yourself as the authority, when you're building an actual healthy relationship with somebody, it happens pretty quickly because they get to know, like, and
Mhm.
trust you pretty
Right?
rapidly. In our conversations, we have 4 to 5 messages that we send out, typically, and and oftentimes they're designed to either be part of a group or watch this video or be part of a podcast or these kinds of things that actually people might be interested in, and specifically to them specifically, right, to that target demographic.
Mhm.
And so I would say that in any given time, you could from the beginning of your conversation, you can convert someone within just a few weeks. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
take or even a week, or it kind of depends. But the objective behind your intention, I receive these emails all the time, and they're just bombarding me in the first message. They're bombarding me with, this is a sales pitch, right?
Mhm.
And I believe that there are many people who have come to the understanding that that's not the direction, and then there's others that that's exactly the direction, right? And I
Mm.
think that ultimately there's just has to be this cognizant effort on what's your intention, where are you coming from, and put yourself in their shoes, put yourself in their place of receiving what that message is. If you're sending out a message that is relationship building, would you reply, would you respond in the
Yep.
first message, in the second message, in the third message? And we all know that we buy into every every part of that landing page, every part of that conversation. So if you're going to read the headline, for instance, that has to sell you on reading the next part of
Mm.
that headline or that message. Otherwise, you've opted out pretty quickly. This is why we go through, we look at something, we scan it really quick, you're out. Other times
Mhm.
we say, that's kind of intriguing. Let me read a little bit deeper. And we keep reading until something either triggers that was amazing, and or okay, I've got enough, or we have our own reasons for opting in, opting out, etc. And so we really need to pay attention to that in our profiles, for
Mm.
one,
Yep.
right? Because your profile is your message, your brand message, your alignment of who you are. It is the thing that when you send out a message to someone on LinkedIn, they're going to go to your profile and look to see who you are. I would, wouldn't you?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
So
Mhm.
so essentially, you're positioning yourself and making sure that your brand message, your business message, is aligned with who you are and aligned with that ultimate goal that you have in the world, that you're either doing or that you're intending to do. And that's the first step to bringing that relationship home to people to know, like, and trust you.
So you've covered a lot of great things there, and we're gonna go. I know we talked earlier, and I'm gonna pull up some LinkedIn profiles, so I do want to look at them because I think sometimes I mean, yes, people look. Sometimes I hear people say, "Well, I'm only gonna update this." They don't realize the asset that it can be, that the LinkedIn can be. And I would argue maybe sometimes, depending even on the company, you might look for the key people on LinkedIn versus their website, because it's going to give you a different flavor or an understanding for the makeup of the company, or those, those individuals, that team, and you just kind of see how that looks, um, you know, and so, I think that this is really important to those of you that are listening to the podcast here. If you haven't kind of dusted off your LinkedIn profile in a while, or looked at it, we'll dive in here a little bit on the podcast here, and get some insights as to, like you were saying, Kenneth, this is a great way to I would look at anyone. I mean, I know when I was looking at hiring people, even from a previous company, I would look at their LinkedIn profiles, because this is their opportunity to curate it, to create the story that, like you said, what's your intention? What are you trying to get here? What's your big idea? And and I don't think people really take that to heart. And what has been your experience working with clients and seeing that?
Yeah, it kind of ranges really,
Yep.
because a lot of times someone has a LinkedIn profile, they have some structure within it, and then others, there's no header, there's no real structure. They haven't created significance around it. It could either be, their business, in
Yep.
terms of what business and industry they're in. It could be that they didn't realize how important that kind of thing is, and they didn't realize potentially how they can potentially get clients from that, or how they could leverage it, right?
Mhm.
And you can use your LinkedIn profile as a website even. So you can, because you can make changes, you could set it up and structure it to where when somebody says, "Can you send me something about you?" You can send that LinkedIn profile to them. And essentially, all your information is there. You can update it pretty easily and readily. You don't have to have a website that you go in and you have to update this or that. Um,
Mhm.
and then some people, in the marketing space, for instance, they might just have landing pages, right? So they're not focused on websites so much. They might, but it's around
Mhm.
one specific thing.
Right.
So depends on what industry you're in and where your intentions are. But I've used my LinkedIn as my business card, and
Mhm.
and then, here's a little bit about me and what I do. Here's some of my businesses and so forth. Makes it much easier to, because you can make changes on the fly even. You can go in
Mhm.
there any moment and make changes, update things, and add different posts, etc. And it makes it much simpler for you to maneuver.
Yeah. Um, so maybe we can do is we can look at, pull up a profile, for example. We were talking a like a well-known individual, maybe like Tony Robbins or something, just to compare and to show you just how simple or elaborate that you want to get. And I'll pull it up here on the screen just to walk through so people can start to think about this. Um, see there. Let me adjust my screen here. There we
Let's pull up
go.
yours for a minute. Let's pull up
Okay,
yours.
yeah, we can pull up mine. Let's pull over. There we go. Um, so,
See that on
so
the
yeah,
full
so
screen?
yeah, feel free, Kenneth. I'll be your guinea pig. You can say good things, bad things, whatever needs to be done, and you guys
Sure.
can follow along. You can check out my LinkedIn profile here. So yeah, fire away, Kenneth.
So pull this up so that's full screen, where it's
Okay,
just the screen itself. Can you do that?
let's see here.
So
Let
it's
me see
easier
if
to
I
see
can
the whole
adjust.
picture.
Uh, if I can. Sorry, I'm technical here. I'm gonna pause. If it's gonna let me do that. We haven't done this before on our, I've shared a web page, but not the full
Got it.
one. So let's
Okay, just blow up
let
the,
me see
maybe
if I
just
can do,
blowing
here
up the.
we go. If I copy this, I'm gonna copy it actually, and I'll put it in a new browser so that way we can
Sure.
this. We'll put it in. Let's should make it so it doesn't have any extraneous stuff in there, hopefully.
Sure.
Well, let's see what this looks like. If we're not logged in, this is what it looks like if let me see on my screen here. Sorry, I'm going to switch my screen.
Or you can just blow up the screen a little bit. In other words, just zoom in
Okay. That.
on the screen.
All right.
It's much easier to see for everybody to see. Just zoom in.
Sorry, this is not letting me do what I would like to do here.
Are you able to move your mouse to where it just zooms in your image?
Yeah. Yeah, it says full screen here.
There we go.
There we go. Is that better?
It's better.
All right.
So let's look at this in the context. It's can you show us the whole? Go into your profile. Go into me. This it? Let me scroll down a second. Scroll down. Let me see what's in there. You can just scroll down the screen there. Keep going. Okay, this is fine. So go ahead and go back up to an image here and the header. To the header, right. So and if you want to make it just the full screen itself, that's great. Just without us having our images there.
Sure. Yeah, let me switch over. We'll just get that over.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so let me see what we have here. Okay, so David, let me ask you this, and I know this is one of the things that we're working on, but the question I have for you is, what is your real intention and what's your target audience?
So my intention is to reach business owners and team leaders currently, and we've talked about this before. I've been in the AEC space. I go beyond that, but that's been my background for the last 20 plus years. And so I've been focusing in that realm, working with environmental consultants, architects, engineers, construction, all of that area. So basically working in helping business owners and their teams develop, scale, and grow.
Okay. So are these colors your colors? Are they outdated? Are they new colors? Are those the colors that you're wanting to use? Mm-hmm. Is the image with your arms crossed, is that the image that you're looking to create? Like, in other words, does your brand message speak to what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Definitely want to convey confidence, understanding, advocate where there's collaboration. You can kind of see that where it says enhanced cover image, but it's letting me, so I put some things in there for success, so these elements of the words potential, power, empower, growth, success. And so I definitely want to convey that to those that are coming in and seeing my profile, that they know that they could, number one, feel confident in working with me and knowing that I understand project management, I understand teams, I understand collaboration, things of that nature. Kenneth?
Yeah. So here's where let's switch over and look at another profile.
Sure.
And we can kind of come back to this one if you have somebody else like Tony Robbins, for instance.
Yeah, I'll pull up Tony's there. Okay.
So looking at his brand here,
mm-hmm.
What's your feeling around this brand right here? Let's just say it wasn't, the name Tony Robbins, for instance.
Sure.
I'm talking about the image, the header, him with, smiling with the lavalier and so on. What is that? And his portrait his face going off to the side. What is that? What's your feeling about that?
I get like a sense of expanse or expansion. I get a sense of, with his profile picture, kind of a stoicism. I get a sense of confidence, reach. There's a large reach because you have like these screens in the back there, and then the headline here is #1, New York Times #1 best-selling author. So kind of you got this external validation from a well-known publication, um, and that he, again, it's very, I don't want to say larger than life, but very, you're talking about big life strategists, philanthropists, entrepreneurs, kind of this very high level, and it's not as specific as I was at, like, where I'm saying AC industry. I'm very niched down. You and I talked about this before about how we're niching. So it's definitely not niched down at all.
Okay. But at the same time, does this give you a level of conversation that you might consider continuing the conversation below, like continuing your reading?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like, this
'Cause it's like,
person
okay,
has
what is
established
this?
himself as an authority in their industry, and they're confident and as a leader and so forth. Is that
Mhm.
how you would say it? Okay. Now let's roll back to yours for a minute.
Mhm.
And those are authentic pictures of him, right?
Yep.
So let's review yours just
Yep.
from perspective of the same type of conversation. So if you can
Mhm.
enhance the cover image, that would be great.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
in
So I'm
this
gonna pull it up there. Yeah. There we go.
in this particular image here, um, what does this say to you as it relates to your, the intention that you have behind your brand, your message, and so forth? What would that convey
So
to you if you were reading this?
the intention, again, and I have colored glasses as
As
I work to
Yeah,
put this
as
together.
if you were separate from this.
I see different people from different backgrounds coming together here on the right.
Yeah.
Obviously celebrating. They're happy. They're like something is good is happening. I see the words that jump out as potential, growth, success. Like, how do I, okay, what is that? I want to know more about, like, what is that success? How do what you know? So, and then there's, just the basic information of like where I'm at there. Um,
Okay.
so
Perfect.
so yeah.
So remember, every part of our messaging has to align with who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we'll be working on is modifying this header right here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to share with you why. The images are stock images. The telephone number and all the different emails and so forth, people aren't going to read or pay attention to. The words are nebulous to where they're not really going to matter to somebody because they're overused words, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you and I will be working on. So go ahead and exit out of this for a second.
Sure.
And then just, exit out of that image.
Got it.
Yeah. So we can look at the other part
We're
of the
back.
profile.
There we go.
And then when it says empowering, that word also is really overused. So what
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do is we're going to be focusing more on refining this
Mm-hmm.
messaging. And so one of the things that I would say, so you now have team development, integrator, consultant and coach, host of a roundtable, project
Mm-hmm.
manager, and so forth. If you were someone else, would you continue to read? Like, what does this say to you overall, with a picture of this person outside, their arms folded? Give me the bigger picture of what, and I'd probably be better to use somebody else just because but I'm still going to put you on the spot here.
That's okay. Absolutely. I think the outside part is that the reason I put outside is because my background in environmental consulting for over 20 years and being outdoors. So people know me from that perspective. As you read down further,
Sure.
and it definitely connects with the environmental consulting side of things.
Sure.
Um, but it doesn't emphasize as much that this particular picture, the team development, although that specifically. So they're trying to link the two, kind of like Tony Robbins was doing here, where you have this kind of larger picture and then this individual
Yeah.
picture.
Okay. So go back to
Um,
go
yeah.
back to yours again.
And
Okay.
then
So
this is. Oh, go ahead.
I'm
Mhm.
listening. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, this has been a transition as I started Steward Your Business a couple of years ago. Branding, if you will, as I was previously director of biological resources and chief operating officer and some other things. So, been using LinkedIn in the last few years in a different way than I did previously in my environmental consulting world. So, it's kind of showing the diversification of what I've been doing to the folks that I've been connected with over the years, and so that they know, oh, David is going in this direction now, and this is what he's doing, which is different than in the past.
Got it. Okay. So there are a few of these things that just need to be adjusted. So, for example, some of the wording, maybe we need to, the
Mhm.
syntax needs to be changed a little bit and so on, right? So, we'll be working on those kinds of things over the next couple of days.
Yes.
And so let's go over to my profile, for instance.
Sure.
And remember, what I'm actually sharing with you is your message has to be aligned with who you are.
Mhm.
And every piece of it, people are reading from top left to bottom right, and they have to be bought into what it is that that your message is. So,
Mhm.
and by all means, this is, I love feedback. So I'm simply sharing with you a perspective about this. And so we looked at Tony's, for instance, and his, clearly
Yep.
he has 7 million followers. He's very well known. Um, the screens behind him make the entirety of his message speak
Mhm.
without louder than words, right?
Yep.
And then you have David's, which is more specific, and
Mhm.
where you're focusing on the message itself or that demographic, basically. So in this particular example, when you look at this individual, the intention behind it is there's a powerful statement that our
Mhm.
perspective, we get paid for our perspective,
Mhm.
and that creates a model where people start to ponder, that's true, that's an accurate statement. We can all create power statements. And then there's the image of me with the lavalier. So then again, naturally somebody's going to think, oh, this is a speaker, for instance. And then there's the
Mhm.
forward facing image. And
Yep.
then we go into founder ad. Anytime you say I or I help, that diminishes your level of power. And
Mm.
I've seen that many times. But when you begin with founder or number one, something of that nature, then
Mhm.
that creates your credibility from the beginning. So in this case, it's
Right.
founder at the um, True Leader Institute, public speaker, and then so in this case, there's a couple different messages going on. There's an institute which is known to be an establishment, some sort of an establishment.
Mhm.
And then there's the public speaker. Then there's the business growth partner, which is more about walking with entrepreneurs and business owners and clients to help them grow and scale their vision. So in this
Right.
case, it's business growth partner for visionary leaders to develop strategies and systems to scale their impact. The word impact, to develop strategies and systems to scale their impact,
Mhm.
is in itself a powerful statement,
Mhm.
because most entrepreneurs, most business owners want to have someone help them and or make sure that they have systems and strategies in place, because they have this big vision, their ultimate goal, their big vision. And because their big vision and is designed to create an impact in the world, right?
Mhm.
And so every part of this conversation is designed to give people a perspective or an understanding about themselves and how they can partner or participate with me and or with you and or with Tony, for instance. And in this case, what would this, if you were looking at this and reading this, what is the impression you're receiving from this? It's not going to hurt my feelings. um, what's the impression that you're receiving from this and the messaging associated?
Again, it's similar kind of in to Tony in the sense of it's broad, meaning when I lead leadership, that covers a lot of different things. It's not so niche down. You also touch on different elements of what you do. You do public speaking, which is evident by the lavalier mic that you said, but then you also are this growth partner. You also provide support for impact, like you said, philanthropist. You're giving away, you're supporting things, and you're an entrepreneur yourself. So there's a lot of pieces there when I read this, but I see what you're saying from left to right, how kind of got the most important things, and then you kind of keep moving down, and you put the words in an order that are relevant to certain people, that when they look at this, they're like, okay, Kenneth is bona fide.
Mhm. Yeah, and whomever that is, right? It's each of
Hmm.
us, right? And
Yep.
and so and some more introduction than others, right? So if you
Hmm.
go into other individuals, whether it be you or Tony or myself or Dean or anybody who's on LinkedIn, for instance, the conversation, and this is really where the point is, right? Because if we send out messages that are designed to build relationships, what we're going to do is we're going to look at these profiles first, this top portion here, and we're going to make a quick assessment whether we want to interact with them, accept their invitation, or participate with any sort of conversation at all.
Yep.
This is the first piece to that conversation. Then as you move down, as you scale down, your bio is going to lend itself to credibility.
Hmm.
The companies that you've established, go ahead and go into to Tony's, for instance.
Sure.
The and the reason why I'm using this example is just for context and
Yeah.
from the standpoint of seeing someone who is successful in a really significant way. And so in his about side of things, you're going to see, again, more information about him, some of his accomplishments, and looking at how he can impact or how he has impacted other
Hmm.
people. And it's worded in some ways as a third party perspective.
Hmm.
Mr.
Yeah.
Robbins. It doesn't say I, it says
Yep.
Mr. Robbins. And it also says the accomplishments in that context of there has been some level of success or
Hmm.
achievement in that area.
Yeah.
And we want to hone in on some of these types of conversations because it really is about, and if you write it in a first person or a second person or a third person, for instance, right, then people are going to receive it in a certain way. If you say I, it's all about you. And the question becomes, is your client, potential
Hmm.
client, going to want what you're saying about you? Or
Right.
or do they want it about them and how you could potentially help them
Hmm.
because you have achieved this or you've done this, you have the experience in it, and so on and so forth. And again, it's not about in this example, it's Mr. Robbins is the author of 7 international bestsellers and so on and so forth, right? So,
Hmm.
and if you continue down that conversation or that path of thought, you can continue down the businesses side of things. These are his posts and so forth. But if you continue down to his different businesses, pretty sure there's only one, which is
Yep.
right there. And what he's done essentially is he's compiled all the different businesses that he has under this umbrella, right?
Mm.
And which includes a bunch of things because he structured his entities in a certain way uh, for success. If you go into others, you'll find there's multiple, businesses, multiple
Yep.
entities, and so on, and they have their own structure. And
Right.
so, anytime that you're looking at again your messaging, the question becomes, how would you communicate with him? How would you communicate with me? How would you communicate with David or Dean or Joe or
Mhm.
Marie or anyone for that matter? And when you're communicating with them, you're basically looking deeper into their profile. You're seeing
Mhm.
who they are. You're realizing what alignment they have with you and or that potential client or partnership, et cetera, what you're looking to create with that individual. And then you're moving that conversation forward based upon what you find to be the most intriguing part of the conversation or messaging that you're sharing with them.
Yes. Very, 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 very powerful, Kenneth. I know we're coming up on time, so I want to be, I'm gonna bring it back here so we can see each other. This was you just giving us a little taste of the things that you do, and you help business owners, and being really intentional in this. And I very much appreciate showing this because uh, although I've been on LinkedIn candidly since pretty much early adopter, about 2007, I think when they launched it. There's been, like you said, new components, new things added, new features put in there, and people are like, I don't know what do I do with this? Or there's different ways. There's not one just way. Again, depends on who you're trying to reach. And so and I don't mind being a guinea pig too, because I feel like I can always learn, and being a coach myself, I want to be coachable and learn and see how can I get a better message. We all struggle with, you know, making the messages pure and direct as we can, in a good way of, like, reaching people, and trying to, minimize that, um confusion, and we all have it at some level, and so I appreciate you bringing some clarity and cutting through some things, kind of like saying, look, especially within people's busy days, and all the things that are going on, all things that are coming at us, how can we make it as impactful and meaningful for them so that they can make a decision whether or not, hey, this is a person to work with. I get it. They cut through a lot of the fluff, right? And to
Yeah,
make it meaningful so we can actually have a engage,
yeah, deeper
right?
connections. Yeah,
Deeper connection,
build
right?
relationships and rapport, and yeah,
Yeah. Um, I'd love to have you come back, Kenneth, because I think, like I said, we're just scratching the surface here. And
sure.
I think this would be great to have another roundtable, maybe bringing some other folks in. But how do
Yeah,
people, I mean, what's the best way for people to find you? Just connect with you on LinkedIn if they message you, or what's the best way for people to reach you?
yeah. Probably not on LinkedIn actually, because I get
Yeah,
a
I
bunch
know.
of
What
messages.
is the best way? Where are
But
you reaching people?
I
And
would
how are they
say
reaching?
that I'll send you. I'll put a link in the if you'd like to
We'll put it in
schedule
the
a
show
call or
notes. We'll
something of
put
that
we'll put
nature.
it in the
Yeah.
show notes.
Then that would be awesome to create that relationship and build.
Yes.
Um, the the thing that we're up to these days is, you know, one of our businesses is scaling entrepreneurs and helping them to grow through LinkedIn, and so
Mhm.
that's one of the options that maybe that somebody might be interested in. I would just
Yes.
say that you know in these businesses like you, for instance, we're basically sending out 80 to 100 personalized invitations a day, then multiple messages after that, and allowing your messaging to happen super fast so that you
Mhm.
don't have to do anything until somebody replies.
Mhm.
And what I do is I work with you one-on-one to help you to psychologically understand how to communicate with people and how to message people and how to bridge the gaps, so and create all of your build all of your profile for you and with you, and really kind of build out with you, write all your messages. All those things are all part of it. So if where would I put this?
Oh,
Let's
we'll put it in the show notes, so I'll make sure we get
Okay.
it in our show notes at the
Okay.
end here, Kenneth.
Okay, great.
That's fine, and we'll
And
make sure I get it added in there when we send this out for everybody, that whether they're listening to it on the podcast platform, Speaker, Apple, whatever that might be, also on our YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody that follows along on a week by week basis, and they come back and enjoy getting to have guests like yourself here, Kenneth, and learning from others, because that's what we really want to do on the Business
yeah,
Roundtable podcast, is we bring others that share value just like you did, Kenneth, and kind of cut through the noise and say, look, here's
yeah,
people that really do care, want to see the success of their clients. And and that's been my experience working with you. And so that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast here today, just to dig into this a little bit, to open
yeah,
up eyes and to get people to consider, oh man, maybe I haven't been looking at this the right way, and
yeah,
giving a new perspective, just like you did with me today, a new frame, and saying, hey, is this really what you're intending? And asking the good deeper questions to get a better outcome.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited about next steps, and we'll put the information in the show notes. And if there's any
Yes.
question you have, please feel free to reach out. We can schedule something 15, 20 minutes or so to chat, and I'm happy to help or answer questions.
Yeah, Kenneth, you're a great resource. Thank you for coming on the Business Roundtable podcast. Thank you all for listening, subscribing, following along. Come back for our next episode. Until next time, everybody, take care. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.